Welcome everybody. Well, in the couple of days since we last talked, of course, things have moved on in many directions. So, as regular viewers will remember, as I predicted, Rick Gates has flipped and Manafort hasn't. So, it's really important about the Rick Gates stuff, given the extra charges that have been laid against both of them. And it's important because the earlier charges, as part of Mueller's strategy, basically dealt with money laundering issues 10 years ago, 6 years ago, before the campaign. The new charges go right through the campaign, through transition, and into Trump's administration, and up until 4 weeks ago when Gates lied again. So these are bringing it very close to the Trumpola as we speak. Manafort, different kettle of fish. According to my reading, he's holding out for a pardon. High-risk strategy. These things, you cannot preemptively pardon anyone, so the legal case has to play out. These things take years. Trump's very unlikely to be there. So Manafort, just a couple of days ago, obviously bored under house arrest, they've both been under house arrest since October, applied for bail. And he put up a couple of properties to increase his collateral for his bail application. And the judge looked at this application and said, Mr. Manafort, these properties are the same properties that you are being indicted for acquiring fraudulently. They're not eligible because you are under investigation for how you got these properties. Fuck off. Okay. Now, I don't know what's happened to lawyers in the United States, but it seems to me they're prepared to take money for anything and just tell their clients anything. I mean, it's just amazing, the arrogance of the Manaforts and the delirious legal positions that their defence seems to take. I mean, it's quite irresponsible when they charge $1,000 a minute. Anyway, so the other thing that happened was I happened to catch a video this morning of a Kentucky Republican, Chris Harris. Now, why this was quite a moving 10-minute speech was because he is such an arch-Republican. He's a gun-toting, Bible-toting, heartland guy. And he spoke up against the advice of his family and friends and everyone else. And he said, what I am giving up for Lent is my A listing for the NRA. I had no idea until a few weeks ago there were these listings of NRA candidates. Anyway, not only is he prepared to take on the NRA, but it's in a really, really deep heartland. He knows it won't be popular. So you have to admire him for having that strength. And he's also come out on a complete ban on automatic weapons. Now, Trump, on the other hand, as we know, his response to this carnage was to arm teachers, which is possibly the most stupid suggestion in the history of the modern world. And on top of that, he wants schools to stop doing the active shooter drills. Those would be the drills that save lives. Those ones he wants to stop. And he said it's because he didn't want Barron to be frightened by such a thing. Mind you, I agree. I'm sure they are frightening things. However, he remembered Barron's name, so that's awesome. Father of the Year award. Although I'm sure if you put Barron in a group of 50 kids, Trump would be hard pushed to pick him out. But sometimes I can be a bit bitchy. So this response is extraordinary. On the other hand, of course, we have big businesses, some airlines, chains, hotel chains, insurance companies. We have movement on that front of separating themselves from the NRA. And also I was surprised to see that teachers' pensions in Florida apparently are twin to arms manufacturers. That's one of the things that they fund the pensions with. And some people are now quietly horrified about that. And rightly so. So who reads the fine print of where their pension fund invests? You know, this is the sort of thing that big business has got away with for a long time. Anyway, apart from all of that, it got me thinking, and I remembered the old Jeannie C. Riley song, Harper Valley PTA, 1968. And that song talked about the hypocrisy of Republicans back then, you know, 50 years ago or something now. So my reading today is to what extent PTAs, Parents and Teachers Associations, are going to be activated by this, and are they capable of bringing down Trump? Now, by PTAs, I don't just mean each little organisation. I mean it a bit more generally, and I also include concerned citizens in this. Okay. But symbolically, the PTA, because this is around school shootings. Remembering there have been 18 school shootings so far this year, and we've yet to see the end of February. They're accelerating, not declining. So that's my reading today. Okay. Will PTAs be able to bring down Trump? PTAs bring down. Look. PTAs bring down. PTAs bring down. Let's do a little bit more of a shuffle. And away we go. The card that fell out was the Ten of Wands, hard work. This will not be an easy ride. Morally, it's perfectly obvious what should happen, but it will not be an easy road. But you do have figures bringing all the disparate strands together in this card. This card I often describe as the martyr card, but in this case back to its more traditional reading, which is it's a burden and it's hard work. But there's a reason for it. The figure is pushing all this uphill, but pulling it together. So, hard work. Now, this is often called the victory card. I don't see it as victory, never have, not just because of this particular topic or anything. It's more complex than that, it's more nuanced. So this front figure has won a victory, which is why it's often referred to as the victory card. They are carrying more than one sword, meaning they've taken the swords from who they've killed or defeated. So in that sense, victory. But this is a smart-ass victor. And this is an unpopular character, which is why the others, they're not the defeated ones, because otherwise they'd be dead symbolically. These are the ones who fought with this figure, are walking away. Now, in light of what I was just saying, the power of the NRA and its AAA ratings for politicians and all this crap, more people are walking away. So in the context of this reading, I want to also explain, I'm talking about Trump, but I'm talking about the NRA because I'm talking about the relationship with Trump and the NRA bringing him down. Hanged Man, this is acting across the issue. So this is the belief system. This is what I was talking about with Chris Harris. People are suspended by their beliefs often. They don't question, they don't think, they don't move from a position, they can be suspended. right? So that's how I see this particular figure. Group work and also dirty money. A price for everything. Everything has its price. So, for those who stick by the NRA, they will pay the price, which I hope includes the fascist loofah-faced one. Okay, so this is about talking about what things are worth. It's a trading card, but not in a sort of commercial sense. It's about actually really drilling down and finding out, is it worth it? Okay. So, the only card with the black pentacles, all right? Grubby money, blood money in this context. Immediate past up until now, which is the emotional stuff. So, again, Trump has played on the emotions. He managed to convince huge tracts of the working class that he was going to miraculously bring back jobs in the coal industry, even though the entire world is moving away from coal. He was going to bring back jobs in the steel industry, even though Bush did that in 2002, and it led to a loss of jobs because industries have supply chains. You can't just jump in at the end of the supply chain or the beginning and change how it works. It just doesn't. People will buy their steel somewhere else, including Trump's cronies. So, emotionally. And also, people are very emotional about this topic. Topic being Trump, the topic being the shootings. Okay, so it is very, very emotional, the queen of emotions here. And she has her feet basically just out of the water, but on slightly rocky ground. So this is not warm and fuzzy emotion. This is difficult, complex emotion. On top of this, delusion, lust, greed, illusion, and delusion. So this is the froth and bubble card. This figure being dazzled by everything, right? So this I see as the American people for a very long time have by and large, not everybody of course, but by and large have bought into this idea that money speaks and power speaks, and if you're wealthy you're automatically powerful and that's a good thing. I think this is the challenge. If things are really going to change, it's a challenge to the worshipping of money, the worshipping of corporate America. New viewers will by this stage realise I am, of course, profoundly biased in relation to most of these readings, but it's not bias in the sense of just reading what I want to read. There is always complexity. It's a very well-informed viewership generally, so a lot of this information is based on a lot of reading and so forth. But this is what the cards are saying in this context. Coming up soon, the chariot. I think things are going to hot up. I think this is the chariot for both sides of the discussion. Trump supporters, anti-Trumpers, pro-NRA, anti-NRA. I think this is both teams galloping forward, charging forward. But remember the thing to watch for in this card, there's the Sphinx figures down the bottom and this quite cold-blooded warrior figure, but there are no reins. So to a certain extent this whole debate could get out of control, and it needs to be kept under control because it's so emotional. Okay, so the chariot. What I do also take from the chariot card in the immediate future, is this isn't going to go away. I think this is now my third reading on this, and it wasn't even on my list, 10 days ago. This issue, this time, is not going to go away. People are nailing their positions to their mast. it's not going to just fade as it has on other occasions. It might dip as other things take the news cycle, but it's not going to go away, and I think that's a very good thing. Well, in the position of the role of Trump in this, and will the PTA have an influence, you'd have to say that figure is being skewered very certainly. This figure isn't getting up again. This figure comes up a lot in Trump readings and Trump family readings. Okay, it is coming. You know, it seems like forever, hour by hour, day by day, but it is coming. So in this position of how does he read it, he would see this as betrayals of people. He wouldn't necessarily see it as the good people of America rising up to challenge him. He would see it as individual Republicans who don't back him, as the media that doesn't back him, and so forth, because he sees the world exclusively through his own very narrow lens. Acting over that, to soften it, the Lovers. So reminding you, it's a major arcana card, meaning it's very strong, but acting against this delusion here and acting in conjunction with the spearing of Trump, this is people trying to get on, but there is this mountain here which has to be considered. America needs to heal, the angel trying to bring things together, but there's also, this is not the most benign of angels. There is this mountain. It has to be bridged. So I don't think you bridge mountains. What do? You climb them or something. So this is about people working together, but back to the core of the reading, it's a hard slog. It's a mightily hard slog. It isn't obvious that millions of Americans want to support their children. Don't you love it that it's these pro-lifers? From now on, the GOP should be referred to as the pro-death party. That's just my humble opinion. So the two are on opposite sides of this. Now the environment, yes, now back to that question, which is PTAs, meaning ordinary people, ordinary parents, ordinary students, but also anyone else who is sane and who wants to see improvement. Articulate speaker coming out. So obviously there's going to be more than one, and obviously the NRA also has articulate speakers. Even if I don't agree with their point of view, they can rave on in a compelling fashion, but they're starting to look a trifle ridiculous. The hypocrisy is coming out more and more. So I take this to be the other voice, the voice of sanity, the voice of reason, and the new shoots moving forward. Page of Wands, very nice card. Twinned with, coming up shortly, the not so benign Page of Swords, also the card of espionage. It's much more, if you like this, this represents the 2 points of view. This is the reasonable, looking at the statistics type Democrats. For example, during the decade or so, there was a ban on assault rifles. These shootings dropped dramatically. When the Republicans let it die, it's gone up significantly. So letting the facts speak, not just the emotions. That's twinned with the cutting edge of the Republican sword. They like being armed, literally, and that is more important to them than any voice of reason. So again, in the news cycle at the moment, there's more and more talk of how the NRA itself has changed. So apparently, I didn't watch much what was happening 30 years ago with the NRA, but apparently it was about responsible gun ownership and all of that stuff. And now it's being bought out by the gun manufacturers. So that's interesting. It's changed, and the Republicans have changed along with it. The High Priestess. Okay, so this is deep female energy. I don't think it's an accident the NRA have a female spokeswoman. That dreadful creature, somebody Loesch, her name is Diane Loesch or something, who was unspeakably cold and vile